Every day feels like a fight between what you know you have to do and you end up doing. Realize that you're not broken, but you are running on mental software that is not helping you. Every delay, every distraction, every spiral into overthinking is proof that your subconscious defaults are betraying your best conscious intentions. And until you reward those subconscious defaults, your intention will just stay expensive delusions. I'm Castillo, founder of Selfmastered. What I'm about to show you will fundamentally change how you think about productivity, performance, and execution in business. Because if your business is not growing, the problem isn't your strategy, it's not your work ethic, and it's not your talent, IQ, or skill set. The problem is you're trying to run 2025 software on 100,000 before Christ operating system, and it's time for an upgrade. For the past 7 years, I've worked with hundreds of 6, 7, and 8-figure founders, and what I've discovered is the most successful are not the smartest or the best funded. They're the ones who have updated their mental operating system while everyone else is fighting their own brain every single day. Today, I'll show you exactly what that means. What is that outdated software costing you? Why every productivity hack you've tried has failed? And how to upgrade your mental operating system so execution becomes automatic instead of agonizing. Most founders think they'll succeed once they have a better strategy, more time, more capital, better tools. But 99% of the time, that's never the case. What they need to do is execute consistently on the strategy they currently have in place. But most can't. Not because they don't want to, but because their mental software, their thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and behaviors are corrupted. Not because they chose them that way, but because their mind has hit a hard limit, a ceiling of stress and clutter that it can no longer override. See, your brain did not evolve to make you successful. It evolved for survival. It evolved to keep you alive in the savannah, not clear-headed, focused, and consistent at work every day. When you avoid crucial tasks or procrastinate on business decisions, that's not laziness. That is survival programming at work. And research shows that your brain threat detector, the amygdala, treats a difficult email like a charging lion. It jacks up your nervous system to help you survive. This kept your ancestors alive 100,000 years ago, but today is devastating for your clarity, your focus, and your consistency. Every time you procrastinate what needs to be done, every time you scroll instead of starting work, and every time you second guess a decision, it's proof that your mental operating system needs an urgent update. And the hardest thing isn't that it creates resistance to discomfort or decision fatigue or emotional volatility or avoidance patterns, right? That's already bad. But the hardest thing is that these patterns extend beyond occasional behavior and they end up defining your identity. Before long, you are okay with operating far below your potential. And the problem is that you cannot out-hustle this. You don't get out of this through grinding. You get out of this through rewiring. According to a recent meta-analysis of 2024 workplace studies, about 90% of people procrastinate for 2 hours a day. About 70% of the day is wasted in distractions. And about 3 out of 4 knowledge workers report stress and burnout affecting their health. We also know that only 1.1% of businesses ever reach 7 figures. If you're currently at 50K a month, let's say, and you waste 4 hours every day to frictions and distractions and overthinking, that's $25,000 worth lost output lost per month. In over a year, that's $300,000 gone. But think about the compounding cost of self-trust, the opportunities you don't get, the brain damage that you get from inconsistency. The cost is just not what shows up in your Stripe dashboard. It's what actually kills your potential. Because every day you operate with corrupted mental software, you're just not losing your day's productivity. You're strengthening the neural pathways of mediocrity. You're training your brain to see important work as dangerous. Let me put it in perspective. If you're making $500,000 with corrupted software, what could you make with optimized mental performance? What could you achieve if you eliminated all your mental friction? The worst part is that neural pathway is strengthened over time. So the longer you operate with mental friction, the deeper that mental friction is embedded and the harder it becomes to change. And while you're fighting for your brain, your competitors who solved this problem years ago are executing effortlessly, are compounding elite days one after the other. They're gaining market share while you're gaining anxiety. They're building momentum while you're battling resistance. And you don't solve it through better tactics, you solve it by eliminating the root cause of friction permanently through deep mental rewiring. So how do you do it? Well, it goes about installing new default thinking loops that synchronize your conscious intentions from subconscious default. So you go from always saying, I'll get to this later, to always defaulting to actually doing it. Instead of asking, what if I'm not ready? You just assume you don't need to be ready to start. Instead of trying 1,000 things and see what sticks, you make sure the important thing happens. And at Selfmastered, we built the ultimate protocol for founders over 7 years. We call it New Oral Execution, and it's guaranteed to help you consistently execute, because it retrains the 4 core domains of personal performance that affect founders in business, removing all interferences with your potential. On the spiritual domain, it works with meaning, your self-image, and the source of your intrinsic motivation. On the mental domain, it's all about emotional regulation, focus, resilience, and clarity. In physiological domain, it's all about energy management, stress management, and brain-body alignment. And on the executive side, it's about planning, executing, and consistently getting things done under pressure. Each domain has specific protocols. Each protocol rewards a core behavior. Every behavior has clear KPIs that can be tracked. This is why within about 6 weeks, founders permanently triple their output by removing the friction keeping them stuck. And once rewired, their mind stops being the worst bottleneck and becomes their most significant asset. So when pressure spikes, they don't spiral. When doubt creeps in, they execute anyway. When burnout hits, they know exactly how to reset. Let me give you a concrete example of how this looks like in real life. So let's talk about a client of ours, let's call him Hien, making about 800K a year, working 8 hours a week. His mental friction was showing up everywhere. His spiritual side, there was no clear purpose beyond money, so he wasted a lot of time chasing external markers of success. Mentally, he had anxiety that will spiral when things didn't go his way. On the physiological side, he was permanently exhausted because his sleep was not dialed in. And on the executive side, he was delaying important decisions. What we did, domain by domain, was the following. On the spiritual side, we reconnected his sense of mission with creating financial freedom for his family. And that jacked up his motivation and started showing up differently. On the mental side, we installed emotional regulation protocols so that setbacks didn't trigger anxiety spirals. On the physiological rewarding, we changed everything: his sleep, his nutrition, his exercise, his stress management, so he could show up at peak capacity. And on the executive side, we restructured his workday to extract maximum output and start creating systems for decision making. 6 months later, his business was at 1.4 million a year, and he was working instead of 80 hours, about 60 hours. And of course, he was more productive, his stress plummeted, and he was just having a totally different experience about business. Same person, same market, vastly different results because his brain was finally optimized. I learned this first by investing in entrepreneurs, and now we know why it works so well. Because when you optimize all 4 domains simultaneously, you create what neuroscientists call cognitive coherence. The different brain systems stop fighting each other and start working together. And instead of your limbic system sabotaging your prefrontal cortex, they synchronize to support peak performance. And this is foundational work for elite performers. Every elite performer in business, in sports, in the arts has invested heavily in mental performance. It's just not optional if you want to stay at the top. If you don't rewire your mental operating system, you'll keep launching new things and killing them when resistance show up, building momentum and then sabotaging it with overthinking, watching dumber, lazier founder pass you and secretly knowing why. Every month you delay this work is another month that you're enforcing the wrong neural pathways. Another month of training your brain to accept friction as normal. Another month of your competitors pulling ahead while you fight yourself. But here's what's possible when you upgrade your mental operating system. You wake up with clarity instead of anxiety. You execute decisions instead of second guessing them. You build momentum instead of battling resistance. You become the founder your vision requires you to be. No hack will fix you. No tactic will save you. And no version of you stuck in friction will ever scale like you know you can. But the right version, the one who executes clean, sharp, fast, is already inside of you. You just need to get out of your own way. You just need to rewire their defaults that are keeping you stuck. And if you are serious about doing this work and you're having at least a 6-figure businesses, the next move is very simple. Book a recording session with me or someone on my team. We'll audit your mental system and we will create a personalized pathway for you to rewire it. Now, this is only for those who are serious. We typically work with 100 founders per year. If you are serious and you really want to win and you know your brain is a bottleneck, apply now. I can pretty much guarantee it's going to be the best 45 minutes that you invested in yourself, at least in the past 12 months. Remember, every time you wait, you're strengthening the neural pathways of resistance. You're training your brain to see success as dangerous. That's not what we want. We want to consistently do the right thing. We want to rewire your brain systematically, scientifically, permanently, so we can unearth the version of yourself that can execute effortlessly. Do the right work and the right version of you will show up. See you on the next video.